the Ostrogoths, the Visigoths, Burgundians, the Vandals, the Suevi, and the Heruli.
And they call them they call them the Germanic tribes. Now, I'm gonna pull this up real quick. You'll be able to see. Yeah, well, you know what? This ain't nothing but Satan. You know, so don't.
Hey, well, it's a heavy topic we're going.
Yeah,
through,
yeah.
so.
There's no need to fear because
Yahweh Shai is here.
That's right. Yahweh Shai is here. He's gonna do this thing.
That's right.
Man,
Satan ain't gonna steal our joy.
That's right. Germanic tribe map. Boom. So they want to mess around. I'm trying to see. Oh, here we go. This is a decent one. All right. Make this a little bigger. As you brothers can see, here you have the kingdom of the Franks. This is the French. The Burgundians are the Burgundians. The Visigoths, the Suebes, you know, the Ostrogoths, you know. So you had different, the Vandals, you know, and up here you had the Anglo-Saxons. So they were all throughout Europe, you know. And these were at one time. Well, these are Edomite kingdoms. But at one time you had Jake that was ruling all up in here. That's why when you read about the history of the Germanic tribes, it says that a lot of them converted to Christianity because they were Israelites. You know, because after Rome fell, after like 193 AD, those Germanic tribes that were fighting against the Roman Empire was Jake fighting against Jake. That's why some of them converted to Christianity because they were Israelites. You know, but prior to that, it was all Esau fighting against each other. And in the long run, today, these same regions here were being ruled by Esau, or were going to be ruled by Esau. All right, and that was the 10 and the 10 horns, which coincides with the 7 heads. All right. So now let's go back to what we were reading in that book.
All right. After these 10 nations would become history, Daniel the prophet foretold another little horn nation was to come up among these 10 nations and would war with them and would actually destroy 3 of the 10 nations. They would be rooted out of that area called Europe today. And this is precisely what happened. This little horn nation destroyed the nations of the Heruli in 493 AD, the Vandals in 534 AD, and the last of the 3, the Ostrogoths, lost their last battle with this little horn nation in 538 AD and were eventually driven out of Italy by 554 AD. However, it was in 538 AD that paved the way for this little nation to take dominion of that area that would become Europe.
Right. So now these things happen, but they happen today.
Right.
Now this is his explanation of certain events that took place back then, but really that particular event of the 3 horns really didn't happen until now, to this time period that we're in right now.
Right.
See, because Esau, they know certain things, but they don't know the whole truth.
Right.
Because they're going solely based on history.
Right.
And things that are written. They're not going based on being spiritual.
Right.
All right. So now, let's go from there to the book. Matter of fact, go back to Daniel.
Okay.
And read the 7th verse again.
All right. Daniel chapter 7 verse 7.
Matter of fact, I'm sorry, brother. Let me show this clip real quick.
Okay.
So just so we can show brothers, you know, some of the history that's based around this particular thing that we're dealing with.
But the Romans did not allow sentiment to get in the way of politics, and it was the Romans who would bring an end to the Celtic culture of mainland Europe. In 58 BC, Julius Caesar's legions advanced into the Celtic lands of Gaul. 5 years later, he had seized the greater proportion of Gallic territory. But the Celts were not finished yet, and a stupendous rebellion began to gather pace. By the spring of 52 BC, the diverse Gallic communities had succeeded in uniting themselves under the leadership of Vercingetorix, a young man from the Avernian tribe. In the weeks that followed, Vercingetorix led an enormous army against Caesar and the Romans. The Celts were now fighting together for their survival. Ultimately, their efforts were unsuccessful. But Vercingetorix did succeed in defeating Caesar at the Battle of Gergovia. Had he adopted a different tactic,
which they call these the Gauls, which is the French, ancient
the
French.
Romans may well have been driven out of Gaul altogether. It was one of the biggest confrontations of ancient times. On the plateau stronghold of Alesia, Vercingetorix made camp with 80,000 of his best troops, while his cavalry rode out into Gaul to raise a still greater force of warriors. Inspired by the victory of Gergovia, the Celtic leader confidently prepared to give battle with the most famous Roman of them all. But Caesar now proved his mastery of containing warfare. All round Vercingetorix's position, he ordered the construction of an enormous siege works. These pits, towers and ramparts prevented the rebels from breaking out. The Romans then built a second outer siege works to protect themselves from attack from the outside. It was 10 miles in length and it worked. When the main Celtic army arrived, it may have been 250,000 strong, but it failed to break through. After 3 brave attempts to relieve their leader, the attacking force broke up and Vercingetorix surrendered. Afterwards, he was taken to Rome and
Revelation
forced
17.
to take part in a triumphal procession. He was then ritually strangled. His rebellion had failed.
Vercingetorix might never have been able to defeat the Roman army. It was a fearsome fighting machine, the best of its day, feared across the world. But he was a very able and careful general, and it's important to remember that Gauls had been fighting as allies and mercenaries with the Romans for many years, so their understanding of the tactics, which
just like today, you got these
good.
different
So
nations, European nations, that fight with America
would ever have taken it
as allies, but then sometimes they become their enemies.
What might have happened?
I think what Vercingetorix represents in Celtic mythology, as it comes down through the ages, is kind of the last hurrah of Celtic rebellion. It's the grand last stand, and it was a really impressive stand.
Alright, now I got one more here, and then we're going to read a few more scriptures and break it down. This is like a historic timeline. It's going to go into certain things. The Roman Empire and Republic conquering. Conquering Carthage in 204 BC. That was the 3 Punic Wars. They were fighting against Hannibal, which was a Jake. It's the conquering of Hispania. That's Spain. And this is the Roman Empire. See? And they go on to certain parts of history on the conquering of Spain. So this is all historical, but there's certain things about the breakdown of the scriptures that are spiritual that Esau can't get. And like I said, they call all these Germanic tribes. I believe it was the Suevi and the Visigoths that were in Spain under the ancient names. I'm just play the conquering of Egypt. I mean, this the Egyptian Empire, which really those are Greeks down there anyway when they conquered them. They were Edomites, but we're just gonna let it ride because there's other points in here that are pretty good that they make. So I mean, if you want to get technical, those Egyptians that they conquered were really Greeks.
Right.
They had already conquered.
Told me had taken control of that. That's why you had the Seleucid and the and the Ptolemaic Wars,
Right.
which eventually the Seleucid Empire took it over.
That's right. They were all Edomites. It was Esau conquering Esau.
Right. White on white crime.
Exactly.
That's why Yahweh Shai said it. If Satan be divided against Satan, how shall
Right.
his kingdom stand?
Right, then the Lord, then going back to Isaiah 19, the Lord said that the Egyptian will come against the Egyptian,
Right.
which is the Edomites,
Right.
coming against the Edomites.
Exactly.
Now Gallia, or the Gallics, that was the French. The Gallics, the Gauls, Gallia,
Right.
the Franks, those are all the French. Alicia, that's in the that was one ancient city in France. You know, I mean, this is I believe this is a game that they have dealing with the ancient Roman Empire, but they go into the history in that game. You know, this is the conquering of Germania, which is Germany, and the ancient name was Alemanni. Now you had different Germanic tribes all up in there. You had Visigoths, you had Ostrogoths, Suevi, the Heruli, you know, and different other tribes there. You know. And then you had the Russians up in there, but they were under their ancient names. You know, some of them were known as the Dacians. Some of them were known as the Ostrogoths. You know, the Goths. You know, this is the conquering of Britannia, because at this particular time they did take over Britain.